Ladies and gentlemen of the old world, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to this community showdown. It's going to be Grand Cathay led by Zaturn facing off against the Dwarves, who shall be helmed by Gotrek Starbreaker here on the edge of the Darkwood. And yeah, basically human dwarfs versus regular dwarves here in this situation. Two very tanky factions. A little bit on the slower side of things. Of course, Cathay is faster with their cavalry and whatnot. Crowmen. Oh, Meow Ying's even giving us a little speech. That's kind of cool. Looking at the army of Grand Cathay, it is going to be Jade Warriors into the sunset, backed up by crossbows. So the crossbows, yeah, they're not going to do like brutal damage against the dwarves, but it looks like this is very much going to be a war of attrition, right? Looking at the dwarvish army, they have like quarrelers, and Cathay has like the exact same unit, the Jade Warrior crossbowmen, basically. So what are they good against? So they can shoot down slayers, they can attrition down enemy peasant archers, as well as just generic archers, and give you some, decent utility. So Jade Warrior Halberds in the back, and the Storm Dragon. So she's going to be using regrowth, and just using her as like a big battering ram, basically. Going Dragon form, when she gets damaged, she's going to switch back to human form, and from there, drop some fat heals. What's not to love? And it looks like there's going to be an Alchemist. Oh, that makes more sense now. So the archers with Plague of Rust and Searing Doom here. So a lot of magic utility. We actually have two Alchemists and Yao Ying, so the Winds of Magic buffs are going to be coming in from the, not the Spell Mastery, where is this? The Master of the Elemental Winds. And yeah, so Plague of Rust with archers. Love to see it. Now for the Dawi army here of Gotrek Starbreaker, a mighty dwarven champion. He's going to be here with the Lord. We have the Dragon Slayers, which, hey, there's dragons for them to slay, so that's good. And they're just good general armor-piercing fighters, so that you can use them against Jade Warriors too. We got bolt throwers, cannons, and a lot of artillery. Wowza. Okay, so that is going to be 4 artillery pieces. 2 bolt throwers, a cannon, and a goblobber in the back. And the other Dragon Slayer is going to be heading to the other side. So, of course, very slow armies. We're going to fast forward as they ponderously move up to the objectives here. And the bolt thrower is going to be shooting into Miao Ying, and the objective is going to be contested here out of the gates. Grand Cathay going to be assembling its forces on objective 2. But dwarves are going for like a cheeky back cap here. We do actually have some miners with blasting charges in the woods, and the Grim Delvers going for a back objective play. So now the artillery is going to start firing in, and so far it's doing good. One unit of Jade Warriors is hammered very heavily by the Goblobber, and the cannon is shooting into the Alchemist, which you can see Zaturn is going to move the Alchemist behind the pillar and try and hide it here. But Cathay does have the objective advantage, and Crowmen are Crowmen. And it looks like the Dwarf player did not notice this, and the Crowmen are maybe just going to be feasting. This is actually a big disaster for the Dwarves. So this is the Dwarf player the other day in the tournament who brought like a mass Iron Drake army against Khorne and like got his army wiped, but then still came back and won with a bunch of Iron Breakers. So I guess this is one way to defend your artillery. Rely on the stalwart nature of the Dwarven crew and use the Quarrelers to just shoot them off. I don't know how that's going to work. We're going to have to see. So up on the point, the Dragon Slayer and the Dwarf Lord going to be hanging out. Back objective is slowly being pressured as the blasting charges are making their way over. And will he notice the Jade Lancers coming for his Grim Delvers? If he doesn't, that's pretty unfortunate because they can do a ton of damage on the charge. But obviously, I think he's a little bit occupied back here. So yeah, the Crowmen do get close to breaking, but they wipe a Goblobber, right? That can't be cost effective for the Dwarves. And the Grim Delvers form up ranks, and they are able to get a nice salvo and send a warning shot over to the Jade Lancers, like try again and see what happens. So they do not try that. Now the Crowmen do get wiped. So basically Crowmen are what, like 600-700 gold. The Goblobber is like 900 gold. So definitely a bad trade for the Dwarves, but not like game ending by any stretch. So back on the objective, we have a little bit of fighting. The Dwarven Hero Corps is going to be battling the Alchemists. So the Alchemists were hiding like goblins. They're basically playing World of Warcraft Arena right now. Line of sighting using the pillars, which I thought was I understand why it was needed because of the power of some of the range classes in WoW. But like the pillar in WoW Arena was like the dumbest shit ever. It was so stupid thematically. It was like you would just get like a druid running circles around the pillar spamming healing spells while like a warrior would just like Benny Hill chase him. It was so dumb. Anyways, that's a rant for another day. But yeah, we do see the Grim Delvers unfortunately not prepared, and they were facing the wrong direction. And they do get charged by some of the Lancers there, which is pretty bad. And in the backfield, Crowmen do descend on the Bolt Throwers once again. And it does not look like there's going to be any help back here. So the Dwarf player really just letting his artillery go to the dogs. Normally it's a lot harder than this. You'll see like some sort of a defensive unit back here. You can actually use Doomseekers in this situation because they rip apart Crowmen and Cavalry too. But the Dwarves are still up in value. So despite some like rough trades in the backfield, the Dwarves are doing pretty good. Their little bow line here, shooting quite happily into the Jade Warriors, but it does look like they're going to be attacked by the Crows. And the blasting charges have made their way out of the trees. And one of them does engage against the Jade Warriors, and the other one's going to be blasting charging them in the back. And it looks like the Dwarves might be able to ninja the back objective here. We'll have to see. Another blasting charge boy is going to be arriving, trying to salvage the Grim Delver. So here they go. Big old grenades coming in. and that is going to be some serious damage. And yep, nice shot there. Does nuke the peasants, does some good damage against the Jade Lancers. And on the back objective, the dwarves are going to steal that. And also, it looks like the middle is being contested as well. The crowmen are just being focused by a little bit of crossfire, so it looks like this dwarf player really likes to just use the crossfire to protect his assets instead of having like actual infantry and whatnot defending. And that is going to be a bolt thrower offline. We are going to see the cannon being taken offline. And I think at this point, the dwarf player is just like, you could just take it. He's like, just have it. I don't even care. I'll use some archers and some bows to shoot. And now we get some slayers coming out, maybe to protect that bolt thrower here. But honestly, the bolt throwers aren't even that good against what this army mainly has. Really nice blasting charge coming in from those guys right there. Certainly not bad at all. As Miao Ying, the Storm Dragon, going to be going after the Slayer here. Not a bad idea. I mean, she's infantry sized right now, and the Slayer will not get any sort of a bonus. And she's got 8,400 HP. The Storm Dragon definitely going to kick this dwarf's butt. He's going to have a bad time. She's literally a dragon in human form, so 900 HP. That Slayer is very, very close to getting karate chopped. And on the back objective, we do see the dwarves slowly winning this. The miners do have good AP values, so they can definitely kill a Jade Warrior with numbers. And the Grim Delvers also come back online, saturated and protected by their Ekron's miners here. And maybe the miners will protect them. We'll have to see if they're going to stay the course. But middle objective in the process of flipping, Quarrelers and Bugman's Rangers are heading up. And the Slayers are finally protecting the artillery. A little bit too late for that, but, you know, if you could stabilize at least one bolt thrower, not going to be bad. So Dwarves sitting on the back objective here. Objective 1 is going to be taken by the Dwarves. Objective 2 is done by Grand Cathay. And the Dwarves look like they're going to be wrestling the back point right now, as those miners should be able to beat those Jade Lancers over time. And should be going to the Dowie here in just a second. They just have a lot more capture weight. And Uno, Dos, and Trace should be flipping on the next victory ticket. Wow, where is the capture weight for the Grand Cathay? Is it just the Jade Lancers? Okay, that's 4 capture weight, and these guys are both really damaged, so understandably, maybe their capture weight isn't that much. So it's super, super tight there. Man, oh man, okay, we'll keep tabs on that. Yeah, the Dwarves are going to need to fight a little bit longer there. Meanwhile, in the middle, value trading's pretty even. The Dwarven Lord trying to battle Miao Ying, the Storm Dragon, but she does take down the Dragon Slayer, so she was not going to have any of that smoke. And now we see waves and waves of Slayers moving up, and the Goblobber is called back online, so Homie is going to be getting his artillery back. And the Dwarves still have a decent bow line, which is trading well into the Jade Warriors, and I'm sure there's been some Plague of Rust action here. Been a little bit tough to track, but Miao Ying certainly putting this game on her back. As the back point, does it go to the Dowie? It does. So the prophecy did come to be true, but during all that, the miners are going to be surrounded and probably taken down by the Jade Lancers. No problem. Yeah, there's like two or three Jade Lancers back there. That's going to be game blouses. So Grumbling Guard on the battlefield. It looks like they overchased something off in the Shadow Realm. Going to be moving in, but their armor is 22 right now. It's basically like lightly armored peasants at this point. And the crossbows of Grand Cathay are going to be teeing off into these bad boys as they do get worn down. And yeah, man, Miao Ying putting in work as a foot combat character. I mean, at this point, just go Dragon form. I think she would kill way quicker in Draconic form. But I guess, yeah, you want to get that heal off, and then you go Dragon form, right? That's going to be the play. So Dwarven Slayers arriving to the field. Middle objective is slightly actually value favored for the Dwarves in terms of capture weight. But the Empress's Crowmen are going to be descending on the Dwarven army. And that's the risk you run when you bring like 4 artillery pieces is, you know, it's really hard to protect them without, you know, really compromising your objective play. Empress's Crowmen going to be flying overhead, maybe looking to do a bombardment right there. We'll have to see. And the Storm Dragon just opting to stay in human form. All right, so back point stabilized for Grand Cathay. Going to be bringing in 2 Jade Lancers, which can make a big difference. If the Jade Lancers actually circle around the back of the Dwarven army and get onto some of the Quarrelers and Rangers back there, that's going to be really strong. Dragon Slayer's called back in. Goblobber shooting and doing okay damage. Calling in artillery mid-game is always a little bit haggard in domination mode. It can work, but it really needs to be an impactful thing. So we're going to see how that works out. Yeah, I'm missing most of the shots right there. Right as I'm like, it needs to be impactful, it misses every single shot. It's pretty funny. But Dwarven Quarrelers and Bugman's Rangers showing their tenacity as they do defeat the Archers of Grand Cathay, and the Dwarves are able to get their clutches on this point. And Dwarves are a faction where you can play against them and be like, yeah, you know, I'm really crushing them on value and strategic engagements, and then suddenly they're just winning somehow. You're like, well, how is this possible? That is like Dwarves in a nutshell. Like, I used to play against Dwarves with Empire and be up like 8,000, 7,000 value or some shit in the early days of domination, and this was before we had Black Rose Knights and Hawk Long rifles and things like that. And they would somehow come back and win. So the artillery is going to be protected. The Dwarf Warriors will defeat those Crowmen, but it's going to take like 45 minutes. And it looks like Grand Cathay actually going for a ninja with some Peasant Horsemen on the back, which I do like. Ultharge Raiders are going to be responding to that. And the Dwarves continue grinding in the middle objective. Their Slayers fighting. Jade Warrior Halberds being worn down. Dragon Slayer definitely needs to get active. He's being a little bit lazy over here. And yeah, a bit of a mistake from Zeturn in my opinion. Going Dragon form with Miao Ying, she would kill this Dwarf Lord a million times quicker. I mean, maybe he's a little bit nervous about being shot by some of the shooting nearby that the Dwarves have, and that makes some sense. But going Dragon form would be the correct play, in my humble opinion. All right, so on the back, Crowmen are getting worn down. Altharge Raiders coming to make sure that it doesn't get ninja'd here. Peasant Horsemen are grabbing it, says a turn is going to be getting his... they look really cool. Peasant Horsemen are pretty neat. Really excited to see Cathay in tabletop. But man, for Old World, they really need to balance the game. It is so haggard. The balance of Old World is freaking awful. It's actually driven me back to 40k, which isn't a bad thing. I love the new Death Guard Codex just came out. Things are good, but yeah, they really need to balance that game. So Altharge Raiders will mitigate the capture weight, but man, he better move on that freaking objective, dude. If he loses that, it's going to be an unholy disaster. And the Dwarf Lord being an absolute chad, but finally is going to be going down. So Dwarves have a good stranglehold on the middle, but the Storm Dragon is still there, and she can cause some havoc. Jade Lancers are on their way up, and the Altharge Raiders, dude, get on the objective! Oh my god, don't do this. I mean, he might just break these guys off with pure damage, but this is like a massive throw right now. If he lets that objective go to those horsemen, okay, negative 27. He just broke them, so that's he got very lucky there. If the Cathay player had been paying attention, he maybe could have pulled back the horsemen and actually been able to ninja that objective, but dude, that would have been such a throw. So Dwarves are creeping up on points now, and they do have the double cap. Dwarf Lord at 700 HP. The Storm Dragon's still fighting here. Dwarf Crossbows and Slayers, as well as the... You know, maybe it's because of the Dragon Slayers. Maybe it's because there are 2 Dragon Slayers nearby that you're not in Dragon form here. But there was a time when there was only one of them nearby, and you probably could have gotten the kill very, very quickly, but it is what it is. Jade Lancers clearing up some of the archers. Now going to be going on the Bugman's Rangers, maybe, or probably getting the Tattered Quarrelers to be the better play. In the backfield, Jade Warriors coming in. More Jade this, Jade that. You got Jade Lancers, you got Jade Crossbows. Everything is Jade, everything is good. So Peasant Horsemen into the Altharge Raiders there, and I think Altharge Raiders, will they be able to hold? Probably so. And there is going to be a unit of Dwarf Warriors coming in, and more Dwarf Warrior reinforcements, as the Crowmen once again taking down the Goblobbers. So the Dwarven Artillery has been a huge blunder this game, that is for damn sure. Dwarf Lord taken down, but the 2 Dragon Slayers are nearby, and they're pissed. This is where you go Draconic form and you chase down and finish off the Dwarf Lord 100%. I mean, she's pretty fast, 39 speed against 36 of the Slayers, so she could definitely do the job. But yeah, taking down the Dwarf Lord, even though Dwarves are high leadership, is still worth it. Like, these units that are at like 16, 19 leadership would break if the Dwarf Lord was taken off the battlefield. So small misplays on both sides, but understandably, it's pretty sweaty here. Wait, was she trying to go Dragon form and got knocked over and canceled it? Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen that. So the stagger cancel there for the Storm Dragon as she retreats through the ranks of her own Jade Warriors. And the middle ground objective now is going to be flipping back to Grand Cathay, as the Dwarves are looking a little bit raggedy here. They wasted a lot of resources on the artillery columns in the 4th quarter there. Back objective here going to be stabilized by Grand Cathay, and here a couple Slayers still tickling, but there's only one of them, so he's going to get taken down for sure. And the Dwarf Lord is now getting escorted off the battlefield by the Jade Lancers. So Miao Ying can cycle charge in Dragon form against the Dragon Slayers here. You just move in, cycle charge, move in, cycle charge. You should be able to take them down or at least do some respectable damage. The Dwarves do get some reinforcements up to the point, so we do get a Dwarf Warrior here. There's a Dwarf Warrior here as well. And yeah, that Dwarf Lord being let to live is a huge mistake. I mean, taking down enemy lords is so cost effective. I mean, he's not going to really be an impactful player this game. But getting a pick on that unit would have been good. Granted, bringing Miao Ying back to break this position to get the objective certainly isn't a terrible priority either. So, yeah, get some like Peasant Horsemen, just like a 400 gold unit to chase down that Dwarf Lord. I think that'd be pretty nice. But Grand Cathay pretty close to capturing this. Looking at the points right now, Grand Cathay, of course, is sitting at 996 points, and 1065 is going to be the case here for Gotrek Starbreaker. So the Dwarves are a little bit ahead, getting the 2 victory tickets, but not for long. And they are going to flip that. And I don't see how the Dwarves come back from this, really. With their Lord being so battered and some archers back here, Grim Delvers coming in. Because Miao Ying can go back human form and cast Regrowth on herself and really get back in the game. And she's going to be a big armor-piercing monster. You know, 600 weapon strength going after these Dwarf Warriors here, which is tough. Cathay calling in a couple Jade Warriors. And we do see the middle objective. Oops, wrong button there. Going to be going back to the Dwarves, which is pretty funny. A couple Jade units on the way in. And do we have any cavalry around for Grand Cathay that can come in? And again, never underestimate the dreaded Dwarves. They can claw back games from the clutches of defeat, that's for sure. Especially if they can clear out the capture weight. Miao Ying going to be doing her best to get rid of these units, but getting rid of Dwarf units is not easy at all. So some fast forwarding as Miao Ying moves in, and she's probably going to be going after the blasting charges. Crowmen are running over reinforcements here, and we do see Grand Cathay catching up in points for the first time in the game. So they're very, very close to catching up, but the Dwarven capture weight here is no joke. Jade Warriors are on their way. Jade Lancers going to be trying to shut down the Grim Delvers again. But if the Grim Delvers are paying attention, they should be able to rip a pretty hellish salvo right here. And it does look like they see the oncoming enemy. They're going to be firing, but they're slightly obstructed by the Altharge Raiders there. But that's going to be a big old salvo. And a lot of the Jade Lancers, that's such a cool-looking shot as they get Last Samurai and move in. Take a hell of a lot of HP damage. At least the front unit did. But the second Jade Lancer got in relatively unimpeded. And Grand Cathay, oh man, they should have moved those Jade Warrior crossbows on the objective. They might have been able to buy enough time to hold it. Hard to say, but Yeah, now very, very tight match. Cathay's going to need to get this objective back from the Dwarves very quickly, which is not going to be easy. So moving this Jade Warrior unit past the Dwarven position is going to be big. Getting the Jade Warrior crossbows in melee on top of the Bugman's Rangers here for the capture weight is also going to be very, very important. And yeah, Crowmen shutting down these units. I mean, Cathay is starting to value trade better than the Dwarves. But this is also where not killing that Dwarf Lord could come back to bite them, although I think he just ran off the battlefield. Yeah, so it's the same difference. He did end up running off the battlefield. He didn't rally, but he could have rallied potentially, which would have been tough. All right, very, very close on points. Jade Warriors coming up, and Cathay probably still gets this, although, man, that's 15 capture weight right here, plus another 5. That's 20, 25 is on the field for the Dwarves. Crossbow's going to be cruising up, but the rear charge into these Dwarf Warriors is very good. Using Crowmen to block Slayers is really smart, because Slayers are just trash against infantry-sized units. Not trash, but they're not very good. So using a Crowmen to dive Slayers is very, very cost-effective. It looks like the Slayers are actually going for the back objective. Grand Cathay going to be wrestling this one once again, breaking that position open as the Jade Warriors are now going to be moving up. Dwarven positions folding pretty much everywhere. You know, being leaderless isn't as bad for the Dwarves, but still is substantial. So Cathay's going to get the objective. Yeah, and now you intercept the Slayers. That's the correct play. Miao Ying could go back into human form and get a heal, but having the big terror route here at this point in the game is probably just straight up better. A little bit of an attempt on the back objective by some Dwarves there, but not going to work out too well as more Jade Warriors are being called out. And yeah, the miners of blasting charges here not going to be probably able to get it done. I think Cathay holds this unless they really screw it up somehow. Slayer's getting taken down by Crowmen. It's an evenish trade, which is good because Onyx Crowmen are much cheaper than Slayers. Not much, but a couple hundred gold, so that's cost effective for Cathay. And yeah, that's going to be 1,400 points being reached, but obviously Cathay is going to be winning on the 2 objectives here if they just manage to hold this. The Dwarves are just going to be mouth breathing and sending an infantry spam, and so is Grand Cathay. We do see some peasant horsemen going back here to actually make sure the back objective doesn't get injured. So this is a good play by Gotrek, having like a tattered unit go for the back objective. Very smart, going to be forcing your opponent to send something much more expensive to deal with it. So that's like a domination tactics 101. And I don't think they get it though, right? Like Jade Warrior. They have Harmony too because of the crossbow nearby, which is really sweet. And these halberds are going to get there, I think, in due time. It's actually getting kind of tight on points. The Dwarves are, though, they're going to lose a lot, though. If Miao Ying comes in here, she could probably terror out these 2 units very, very quickly. Looks like she's going to be going after the Dwarf Warriors. Terror routing these 2 would have been the stronger play. That would probably remove 6 to 7 capture weight right there. Crossbows shooting into the Slayers and getting some value in. And Grand Cathay will be there in a moment with their halberds. Oh, man, this is getting tight. But yeah, now Zetern is getting to the point, even though he's starting to lose the objective, where he's still going to win on just 1. So I think he's got this one in the bag. I don't think the Dwarves are going to have the time to get this. I could be wrong, but no, I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's more than double. So here they come. Jade Warrior halberds getting up on the objective. Miao Ying needs to tear out this position super, super hard. And the old Jade Warriors are going to get it done. GG, well played. So that was a surprisingly close game considering how blunderous the Dwarf early game was. They just basically donated all the artillery to Cathay's army, didn't even put any effort to really defend it. And even still, the Dwarven Hero Corps and the stalwart nature of the Dwarven army was almost able to pull that game back, right? So yeah, GG, it was fun. It's a good showcase of that. Even if mistakes are made, if you keep focusing and trying your best to get back in the game, scrapping, you can still almost win these games or come back and win them from time to time. So yeah, Miao Ying was good. Definitely a blunder going and not going into dragon form. That should have been done as well. But, mistakes were made on both sides, but that can make games interesting for sure. And certainly is a good teachable moment for all of us. All right, guys, we'll see you on the other side. Take care of yourselves, and the Dragon Emperor smiles this day.